Hello and welcome to Massive Crit. In this video I want to reveal a little secret about myself. So away we go. Over the years I've collected some rare and limited edition models and just never painted them. I would just keep telling myself that they would make for an amazing project once I became a better painter, and of course the days of being a better painter just never came, so the models just kept building up, and in fact some models I have are part of a game system that doesn't exist anymore. In short, I was suffering from fear of fucking up, or FOFU for short, and it was all of my own making. One solution I found was to back out of the hobby, sell off my models and go travelling, and keep some of my more favourite models for when I got back into the hobby later in life. And this proved to be quite an effective way of reducing the pile of shame. I'm not trying to suggest unpainted models were the reason for backing out of the hobby, but I'm a slow and lazy painter, and when I got back into the hobby I wanted to try something different. I decided to paint up some of my old models for a Vekar kill team. I spent about 6 hours on each model and they look alright, I think, not too bad. But I want to be a better painter, but I haven't really tried to get better. I've just expected myself to get better over time. So recently I decided to try a different painting technique with every kill team that I paint. For the Blooded I tried a grim dark sort of style using oil washes, but for the Ogryn I wanted to break this rule of trying just one new technique with every team and try wet blending on the Ogryn. Sorry, it's probably the longest intro ever, but this is how I did it. I just want to quickly mention here that I'm only going to cover the Ogryn skin and the fire on the model because all the other colours and techniques are the same as the how to paint Blooded video I've already made, so I don't want to repeat myself and make this video longer than it already is. So after laying down a base coat of pallid witch flesh and testing out the scheme on the staff hand of the Ogryn, I start by applying Ahriman blue to the arms, ready to blend back into pallid witch flesh at a later stage. I'm not looking to win any awards for the blend, I just want to learn as much as I can by experimenting with this new technique, but at the same time finish with a result that I'm happy with. Blending blue with an off-white just seems like the best place to start with wet blending for me, personally. I want to try and make the Ogryn look like he is mid-transformation into a demon and not full demon yet, so I decide to try and make it look like the blue spreading up his arm and blending into the Ogryn's true skin tone at the shoulder. I'm being careful at this point to leave the recesses of the magic rune pattern thing on his arm white because I want to try a molten glow effect next to try and animate the demon within. It makes more sense to carry on with the blue at this stage and do the actual bloody blend on the back of the shoulder, but my focus is on the arm at this point, so next I break out the Lamenter's yellow to fill in the runes. Any contrast yellow will do at this point, but I'm just using Lamenter's yellow because it's the only yellow I had at the time. Then I apply corn red with a dry brush, then a normal brush, being careful not to get it on the yellow, but not being overly concerned if I do. With just a dry brush I then apply Fire Dragon Bright, trying to keep as close as possible to the edges of the runes. Lastly I wash the area I dry brushed with Majos Purple, mixed with a bit of water. I'm not worried about the contrast paint breaking up because I'm looking for that inconsistent finish, and I think the end result looks pretty sweet. I then break the Ahriman blue back out to neaten and bring back the glow closer to the runes to try and make it a little bit more realistic. Looks like I've now decided it's time for the blend, and the shoulder seems like the biggest, easiest place to do it. This is the first time I'm attempting to wet blend after all, so I want to make it as easy as possible. I wouldn't want to try and wet blend a Ratling's face for the first time, but on a larger surface area which is more forgiving, like on this Ogryn, I should be okay. I add Ahriman blue and pallid witch flesh to my wet palette and I apply them to the model. I have no idea what ratios I'm using, I'm just getting stuck in at this point, so I mix them together as close to the darkest blue on the arm as I can and then clean my brush before starting to drag and feather the mixture out. I then grab a bit more pallid witch flesh, add it to the top part of the shoulder and start feathering these tones together. Deciding I wanted the recesses more darker, I added more Araman blue, more pallid witch flesh to the raised areas and just started the feathering process again. I repeat this process of applying the Araman blue to the recesses and pallid witch flesh to the raised areas in different ratios until I have something I'm happy with. It's good to remember that when I'm unhappy with a blend, I can just wait for the paint to dry and start again, no biggie. And I did give this several attempts before I was happy. And I am happy with the end result. It may not be perfect, but I intend to throw Reichland flesh shade over the pallid witch flesh and then wash it with oils, so I'm hoping this will tie the blend together and mask any inconsistencies there are. Now I'm moving on to the magical fire producing from the staff. I base the fire with true white before applying Lamenter's yellow, which takes a couple of coats because it is technically a glaze, but if you're using contrast yellow this should just take one coat. I'm starting with yellow because it's a difficult colour to work with and I wanted the fire to look the same as the molten effect it did on the arm. I threw down the yellow first to get a nice consistency, being careful to leave the raised areas where the fire would be burning the hottest white. I also applied the yellow to the eyes because I want to do a similar effect to them too. With painting fire, it's best to leave the hottest parts of the flame the brightest colour, so in this case, white and yellow, deepening the tones the further away from the hottest point I go. I start applying a fire dragging bright to the model with this in mind, keeping the centre of the fire yellow around the eyes of the staff and keeping the outside of the fire yellow the further away from the centre of the staff the fire goes. In retrospect, the fire dragon bright looks like a load of bollocks in the end, so I repaint over these areas with corn red and evil sun scarlet, but at least the fire dragon bright provided a sketch of where I want the reds to be, so perhaps not a completely wasted step. I flip between corn red and evil sun scarlet trying to get the gradient right, but I'm struggling. The Fofu starts kicking in and I freak out a little and start slapping Majos purple everywhere, which in the end does give me some perspective and my ideas start coming back. I highlight the corn red with evil sun scarlet, get more reds in the recesses and blend the reds together with Majos purple. This process took me much longer than I expected, but the end result looks alright. I'm pretty happy. The last thing I want to show is how the blue blend comes together when I apply the Reichland flesh shade. It really does bring it together, and after finishing off all the other areas, including the oil wash, which I explain in my How to Paint the Blooded video, this is the end result. There we have it. One way I've found to manage Fofu and to become a better painter is to dedicate one new painting technique to every kill team that I paint, and just have my kill teams tell the story of my painting endeavours. Will my Ogryn win a golden demon? Fuck no. Am I happy with everything on the model? I've probably got room for improvement, but am I happy with what I set out to achieve? Hell yes, I think I did alright. Not every model I paint needs to be the Mona Lisa, but on my way to building up to Golden Demon standard, I can relieve some of the pressure by focusing on specific techniques per kill team, and hopefully I don't get bored of the process and make it to that Golden Demon standard. And finally, if you like the tunes playing in the background, I'll include a link in the description to Rush's YouTube page where you'll find Shroom season where all the tracks are off. Go and give him a listen, I think he would really appreciate it. But thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, May you always career massive.